Hey everybody, it's Joe Parker with the Santa Barbara Group at Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate, and I'm standing in front of the Santa Barbara Mission because it marks the entrance of the Mission Canyon neighborhood, and that's what this video is all about. What's it like living in Mission Canyon? So without any further ado, let's dive right into it and show you everything you need to know about this beautiful neighborhood. I mentioned that the Mission right behind me here is at the entrance of the Mission Canyon neighborhood, and this park here, the Mission Rose Garden, is one of the locals' favorites for all these roses. It's a great place for a picnic. Bring the kids, bring the dogs, let them play, let them have fun, and you've got this great backdrop of the Mission in the background. This is definitely one of the coolest spots for a picnic on a hot summer day here in Santa Barbara. So the Mission Canyon neighborhood is made up of like three sections, we'll call it. This lower section right here is just above the Mission, adjacent to the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History. Across Mission Canyon at the bottom is Rocky Nook Park. So this section, the lower section here, about 300 feet of elevation, this is where you'll find some really nice older custom homes. This is a part of Mission Canyon that's going to afford you a lot more privacy. It's going to be easier to get to and from your home. Getting into town is a breeze because you're not winding up these narrow mountain roads to get to your home. A lot of this section is made up of these private roads, like I'm on right here. Todos Santos is the private road I'm on, and it's just really nicely laid out with big trees, of course, just like all of Mission Canyon, loaded with big oak trees. But right here, you're gonna get some nice custom homes, some older ones, and even newer ones next to lots that look like they're pretty original, like not much has been done to them. But that's the nature of Mission Canyon and Santa Barbara in general. You tend to have newer, nice, big, multi-million-dollar homes next to more modest, original ones. It creates the character, part of the nature of living here in Santa Barbara. Now, I'm in Rocky Nook Park, one of the most majestic parks in all of Santa Barbara. What makes it extra special is that it's located pretty much right here in the city, only a couple blocks from the Mission, and it feels like you've escaped all of reality when you come in here. There's tons of trees, there's big boulders, there's a beautiful creek that runs through it. For the kids, they love hiking around, jumping on rocks, climbing trees. There's also a playground, which is really great. There's a bathroom. They have picnic tables and barbecues. There's lots of little trails, and it's easy hiking. It's not like you have to be able to climb a mountain or anything to hike through this park. Anybody could come in here and enjoy it. And it's the place where you kind of start looking around and you find lots of little areas that you hadn't seen before, maybe the last time you're here. So it's definitely a place to spend some time and come visit multiple occasions. Okay, now we are up above the 192 Foothill Highway over to the east of Mission Canyon Road that comes up past the Mission. So this is probably the section that most people are most familiar with whenever they're considering the Mission Canyon neighborhood. This section is known for being a lot more dense than the other two sections. You've got a lot more houses squeezed together. It's relatively steep. You'll find that most of the lots are sloped up and down. Some of the driveways are downright scary to get up into. That's one of the things you gotta be on the lookout for whenever you're shopping in Mission Canyon, is what do the driveways look like? Because sometimes you come out of your driveway right into a busier street like Cheltenham, which is one of the main streets if you're coming off of Foothill to get up to the top. So this section right here, it's gonna be a little bit more affordable. You are gonna pick up some really nice views, as you can see over my shoulder there. One of the classic signature views here in the Mission Canyon is the seminary, which is located right behind the Santa Barbara Mission. That's a really cool tower to see. But you'll notice that the ocean views from over here in Mission Canyon get blocked by the mesa. You'll see, depending on how high up you get, you can see the island. Sometimes you can see a little bit of ocean in front of them, but the mesa is gonna block some of that ocean. And then at nighttime, one of the big differences between Mission Canyon views and other view neighborhoods like the Santa Barbara Riviera is that you're not getting those city views at night, which have all the twinkling lights. But you do have some really unique angles, and this one right here that looks at the seminary is one of my favorites. So this section right here, you're gonna get a bit more density, a bit more affordable. There's also not a lot of parking. You'll find that here, street parking could be absolutely none, if not maybe one or two spots. So you gotta make sure that you're planning out how you're gonna handle all your cars if you have a lot of cars and you're looking at Mission Canyon as a place you may wanna land. One of the reasons why I make these videos for you guys is so that you understand the nuances of each neighborhood here in Santa Barbara. Like for example, Mission Canyon, what are some of the nuances here? Well, one of the things that most people run into when they're investigating a property is that the hillside is mostly what you see here, this Rincon shale. This stuff is very loose and you gotta go down deep to get into bedrock. So one of the things that happens in an area like this that's built on the Rincon shale is that you get a lot of radon gas releasing, and that radon gas can get trapped in a home. So you're gonna wanna get a radon test when you're buying a home here in Mission Canyon. A lot of them have already been mitigated, and what they do is they install a fan system in the attic and vent it out of the house so that that radon gas doesn't creep up into the house. It gets pulled out and exits out the roof. So that's something that you may wanna look into because radon gas is really not that good for you. Also, a lot of the original homes in Mission Canyon, they have their original foundations and they've aged over the years. There might be some movement, some slippage, and so you'll find that the foundation needs to be underpinned, retrofitted. Basically, they screws down into the earth and pin it to the house to keep the house there. It could be very expensive, but it's something that you need to investigate if you're buying an older home that hasn't been retrofitted here in the Mission Canyon area. Now, I stopped here because you could see how narrow these streets are. There's no street parking, they're winding. You don't have a lot of room to walk around, but you do see a lot of people doing that kind of urban hiking. You know, they'll go out their house and hike up these streets and just hopefully a car doesn't take them out. So you got to be a little bit careful. Not the best for bike riding either. Best if you have an e-bike because it's easy to get down to downtown, but getting up here is going to be a lot harder. So you want to use that motor to get you back. Now, a recent sale I had here in Mission Canyon had an interesting issue, which I found out is prevalent amongst many of the properties up here. In total, there's about 1,100 different lots in the Mission Canyon neighborhood. Now, when they were laid out, they didn't use very precise precision on the lot lines. In fact, what I've found is some of the homes I've sold, later surveys have shown that some of the fencing that divides a neighbor's property is as much as 6 feet on the wrong side of the lot line. Most of the time, this has just been the way it has been for a long time and people are okay with it, but every once in a while, a property will change hands and you get somebody who wants to capture that extra bit of land and then you got an issue. So be aware of the fact that the lot lines in Mission Canyon aren't always accurate and those lot lines are typically viewed by the boundaries of the property, which are fencing. So don't trust the fences. Now, if you like privacy and seclusion, you like lots of space, this section of Mission Canyon might be for you. So the way Mission Canyon is divided, you got the lower section that we saw down by the Mission, you've got the upper section above 154, and then you have Tunnel Road that kind of cuts that upper section with this section. All right, so this is over on Las Canoas. This area here has a lot of homes. It's more rural. It's got a lot more land around each of the homes. You have a lot of these long driveways that will service 3, 4, 5, 6 different homes at one time. So this is kind of what the vibe is here. If you like to get into town really quickly, this is probably not the spot for you, but if you like that privacy, that rural nature, this is definitely it. Another thing about Mission Canyon is the concerns about fire. Clearly we're in a high fire area, so you gotta be paying attention to what your insurance is gonna cost you if you're shopping in Mission Canyon. But one thing that the neighbors have done here is they've created the neighborhood association for the Mission Canyon residents here. And they organize and they interact with the city, the municipalities that help keep them protected from fire, and they even do things to protect themselves, like invest in systems that will help them and also have networks to keep each other informed in the event of emergency. So this community has organized, and if you find yourself living here in the Mission Canyon neighborhood, you could be a part of that association too and be part of what helps make this neighborhood safer than a lot of others that don't have this type of organization. When you're living in Mission Canyon, you're living amongst all the wildlife of Santa Barbara and the Los Padres National Forest. So you've got all these natural corridors like here, these waterways, and then you also have Mission Creek and Rattlesnake Creek, which has tons of sections that are completely untouched and perfect corridors for wildlife. So things like skunks, raccoons, possums, but also big wildlife like black bears and mountain lions and bobcats. All these things you could expect to see, and deer even, you could expect to see here when you're walking around your neighborhood in Mission Canyon. Another feature of the Mission Canyon neighborhood is the botanical gardens right here. I'm at the entrance of them, so if you pay and go in here, there's great hiking, amazing displays of local botanical flora and fauna. You've got waterfalls. There's an old reservoir that was constructed by the Chumash that's in here as well, part of a dam system that helped send water down to the reservoirs by the mission. So this place right here, full of historical significance to the Chumash and to the locals here, and it's really beautiful, a great place to spend a day walking and enjoying nature. Another thing to know about Mission Canyon is that some of the views will have power lines in front of them. It happens all over town, including the Riviera. Many neighborhoods have above ground power lines here in Santa Barbara, so beware that your ocean view home may have a power line in front of it. One more thing about Mission Canyon I'll bring up now is the fact that the microclimates in Santa Barbara definitely are affecting the Mission Canyon neighborhood. If you like drier, hotter climates, this is a good spot for you to land. It could be 10, 15 degrees hotter here in Mission Canyon than over there on the mesa or down by the beach in Santa Barbara. So that's the way Santa Barbara works. We have microclimates here. I can tell you how each neighborhood can vary in temperature so that you could find the right neighborhood that fits the exact temperature you're looking for. Here's another thing that is important to know about Mission Canyon. When this community was originally built, it wasn't connected to the city sewer systems. So these homes were all built on septic originally. Now, the city did connect the neighborhood to the sewer, and so all those septic tanks are now abandoned in the ground. So when you're buying a home, it's really important to know where that septic tank is, because if you got plans for your yard, let's say you want to drop a pool in your backyard, take advantage of some of these views, take advantage of the nice warm weather up here, well, you may not be able to do it if that septic tank's right there, or it may add a whole bunch more cost in removing that septic tank. So it's just important to know about some of these little details, these nuances about the neighborhoods that you wouldn't know if you're just browsing the computer, but when you're starting to work with someone like myself who could really clue you into these, it really can add a lot of value to your search. All right, we pulled over here on the western edge of the Mission Canyon neighborhood. This is overlooking kind of this northern Santa Barbara area. I see San Roque down here. I could see La Cumbre Plaza over there, Cottage Hospital over there. But what's cool about this section, and it's pretty unique, there's only a few lots that have this perspective. You get this view towards the sunset, out towards Goleta Valley, out towards the Gaviota coastline, all of that. So there's only a handful of them, but if you happen to get one of these properties, you're gonna get this extra special sunset view. I love this perspective. It's really cool to just see how far the land goes, and it's pretty flat. Now, there's no commercial districts in Mission Canyon, but there is the Santa Barbara Tennis Club right here. So you can see below me, lots of tennis courts. They also have a pool, they've got a gym. So in the summertime, it's a real social kind of club. Not only are you playing tennis with your friends, but hanging out by the pool with the kids playing and everything. So this is kind of a fun little social recreational club that a lot of people who live in Mission Canyon really enjoy because it's so close to them. Another great feature of the Mission Canyon neighborhood is being at the base of the Los Padres National Forest, you have access to these trailheads right here. So Tunnel Trail could take you up, and it forks off in many different directions up into the backcountry here, and you could go on the other side of the canyon over to Rattlesnake Trail as well and get up into the mountains that way. So living up here has its benefits. You could go right out your door and hike right into the backcountry. Okay, so we've talked about the three sections of Mission Canyon. You got the lower section, you got the upper section, you got the Los Caneros section, all wonderful and all uniquely individual in their own rights. We also talked about some of the amenities you get in Mission Canyon, like space, wildlife, trailheads. You also have Rocky Nook Park. You've got botanical gardens. You also have the Mission not too far away. So why wouldn't you want to live here in Mission Canyon? Well, I can't think of many reasons, but this video will give you a good idea of what it's all about. And we thought we would end it by coming up to the top here so that you could just really take this all in. We've gone over this whole area right here, Mission Canyon, and this is it, the very tippy top. So I'm Joe Parker with the Santa Barbara Group, Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I make them to connect with you guys, so don't hesitate to reach out. We could talk more about Mission Canyon or anything else you see in this channel I put together so that you could learn more about Santa Barbara. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make it a great one.